Nemo Radio is on the air.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to Nemo Radio, and I have exciting news for you. I just got back from a trip to 1989. No, I didn't have a time machine. I went there in my mind's eye, and I relived a memory that is really critical, and it really defines what I titled this episode, and that is it's about this invisible line between failure and success. And what happened in 1989, I was 13 years old, playing baseball for my middle school team. And we had a kid, and I'm not going to name him, who had left our school. I'll call him Biff. Right? Biff the bully. He had gone to a rival school, and he was a really good athlete, right? And I was a kid growing up. If you know my story, I was very, very overweight, and I came out of a lot of dysfunction and brokenness and abuse, and just really struggled with self-image and self-esteem. And I was very, very shy. And, by the time I got to middle school, I had lost a lot of the excess weight, so I wasn't, getting made fun of as the fat kid anymore. And I loved sports, and baseball in particular, but I was still super shy and didn't have that mindset, that mentality that I can win. And in fact, this is really funny to think back about. I was afraid to swing at the ball. So, in batting practice in middle school, when there was no pressure and the game wasn't on the line, I would hit line drive after line drive. And I remember the coach literally having to jump out of the way because I was just smoking line drive after line drive. And I still can feel, the bat hitting the ball and how good that felt. And then when the games came, I was too scared to swing. I was too scared to take my chance. I was too scared to fail because I didn't want to feel that shame and that embarrassment. And so I would literally get up there and never swing the bat. And I would just draw walks, or I would sometimes, to my horror, get called out on strikes, but I would never swing the bat. And I remember finally, in 1989, one of these games where it kind of changed and broke things was Biff the bully was on a different school. He had left our school to go to a different one. He was pitching against us. Well, we all knew Biff. He had gone to our grade school for years, and he was very arrogant and cocksure and confident. And so he comes up to the mound, and I remember I was batting, I was in the game, and when I walked up to the plate, he humiliated me in front of everyone, in front of the parents, the kids, everyone in attendance, everyone within earshot. He said, move in, this guy's too scared to swing. He's not going to swing the bat. Move in. He's not even going to swing the bat. And he just grinned at me. Just imagine the biggest 1980s bully face you can think of. And that was Biff, right? Just taunting me. And I remember, and I was reliving this right before I got on this podcast. Here I am, 13, 14 years old, 1989, and I had tears in my eyes. And I was humiliated as I was walking to the plate. And I remember I was on that invisible line between failure and success. It was in my head, right? Because remember, in practice, I was a great hitter. I could crush the ball, not home runs, but I could hit tons of line drives, great contact. I'd always been a really good baseball player. And something in me, even at that young age, kind of challenging your manhood, calling you out, it was this trial. And everyone kind of watched, and kids were laughing and stuff because Biff was on the mound talking trash. And I just remember tears in my eyes, and I had this immense shame and fear and all my childhood stuff swirling to the surface. And then on the other side, I got really mad. I got really angry. And I just said, I remember this. It is as fresh as if I just got back from 1989. In my mind's eye and in my heart, I said, you are going to swing the bat. I don't care what happens. You are going to swing the dang bat. And I said probably something worse than that. But anyway, Biff threw it, fastball down the middle. And I remember feeling all this tension and fear in my body and squeezing the bat so hard. But I forced myself to swing. And I swung the bat, and I ripped it. I ripped a line drive down the left field line for a double, a stand-up double, a huge hit, right? The crowd erupted. My teammates went crazy. And I remember rounding first and running into second, tears coming down my cheeks of joy and wiping them away quickly because I'm a teenage boy. And I remember just letting loose, taunting Biff back verbally, just saying to my bench, to my teammates, it's like slow pitch softball, swing away. He's throwing it right down the middle. It's like slow pitch softball, like just totally rubbing it in Biff's face, like right back at you, buddy. And I got up again later that game. He did the same thing. Move in, this guy can't hit. Move in, he's not even going to swing. He did it again. He doubled down on his taunting. And I was more confident this time. I was still really angry and humiliated. And I hit it again for another double down the left field line. Crushed the ball. And I just let him have it. And now my team got fired up and inspired. And they started talking trash. Because remember, we all went to school with Biff. And he was the bully of the school a little bit. And, the best athlete, pushing everyone around. And so my buddies started hitting Biff. They started getting hits and scoring runs. And just amping up the energy and talking trash. And finally, humiliation of all humiliations, Biff got removed from the game. Like, we hit him and scored so many runs off him that his coach had to come out and take him off the field. Like, he was getting slaughtered, and we were just jeering him like crazy. And he threw his glove, and he was in tears, threw his equipment, and threw a big temper tantrum. And I'm not going to lie to you, I loved every minute of it. I loved seeing Biff get served. He deserved it, and I'm sure he's fine now. He's a grown man somewhere. But in that moment, it felt so good. And that's just an example of this invisible mindset. And the number one thing I'm seeing that's really, driving me crazy when I'm doing one-on-one coaching and working with clients and even in my own life and business is so many of us get caught behind this invisible line between failure and success. And what the line is simply our thoughts, our mindset, our beliefs, our self-confidence. And really what changed all this for me, what really made a difference was a book, and I'll link to it in the show notes, and I've talked about it before, but I'll keep talking about it until it clicks for people, was a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And this is the book that really launched a lot of what you see today with Tony Robbins and other influential people who talk about the power of belief and the power of mindset and all these things. And this book, along with books like Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, and there's many others, but that really spawned this idea of we, at least in the modern Western culture, because it goes back to Plato and everybody else, you are what you think, and all these things. But it really clicked in for me, this book about understanding you become what you think about. Like literally, your thoughts are that invisible line that determine if you fail or succeed. And here's one of the real standout lines from Psycho-Cybernetics. And he talks about the importance of visualization. So I went and relived that moment where I, stood up to Biff the bully on the baseball diamond and got those hits and crossed an invisible line where the rest of the year I swung away and I had a great year hitting the ball, right? And he